The modern birth control pill. One tiny tablet, billions of dollars in research, decades of clinical trials. It is the absolute peak of modern medicine. Your ancestors didn't have any of that. What they had was a wild plant. A single species growing on a narrow strip of coastline in North Africa. It was so powerful, an entire city-state was built around it. One of the greatest civilizations on Earth stamped it on their coins. They carved it into temple walls, and they traded it like gold. Its name was Silphium. But how could just a plant do all of this? Without a single lab, experiment, or test, it achieved the exact desired effect. How did they discover it? And how did we drive it to extinction? Picture a city. Cyrene. 630 BC. One of the wealthiest Greek colonies in the ancient world, sitting on the edge of the Sahara, facing the Mediterranean. What made it rich wasn't location. It wasn't gold. It was a plant. A single species that grew only in the hills surrounding that city. Giant fennel family. Yellow flowers. Thick stalks. The Greeks who settled Cyrene around 631 BC figured out what the plant could do almost immediately. Theophrastus wrote about it in the 4th century BC. Dioscorides listed it in his Pharmacopoeia. Cyrene struck it on their coins. Not a warrior, not a king, a plant. Stamped onto every coin the city ever minted. Because that plant was the city. So what did it actually do? Everything, technically. Cough remedy, anti-inflammatory, fever treatment. But the main use was different. Taken as a monthly dose, the root boiled into a drink, or the resin mixed with wine, it prevented pregnancy. Taken after intercourse, it terminated one. Just the plant. And it worked. How do we know this wasn't just superstition? Sirene of Ephesus, the most respected gynecologist of the ancient world, described the protocol in detail in the 2nd century AD. He wasn't speculating, he was documenting. The plant itself is gone. The exact species is still debated. But its closest relatives, plants in the Ferula genus, still exist. And in 1986, a research team ran the test. Female rats were given Ferula extract. Pregnancy rates dropped dramatically. And here's what makes it remarkable: the effect was completely reversible. Stop the treatment, and fertility returned to normal. That wasn't coincidence. Ferula species contain compounds that interfere with progesterone synthesis. Progesterone is what sustains a pregnancy in its earliest stages. Disrupt it at the right moment, and implantation fails. The mechanism Silphium's users observed 2,000 years ago has a biochemical explanation that works at the molecular level. This wasn't folk magic. This was a functioning hormone inhibitor, discovered, standardized, and traded at scale, 2 millennia before the first birth control pill. Then, things got even stranger. In 49 BC, when Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon and marched on Rome, one of his first acts was to smash open the doors of the temple of Saturn, the state treasury. According to Pliny the Elder, Caesar didn't just take massive amounts of gold and silver. He also seized the state's entire reserve of Silphium, roughly 1,500 pounds of it. So what did he do with all that plant? Caesar needed to finance a massive civil war against Pompey. And at the time, Silphium was literally a currency, equal in weight to silver and gold. He liquidated this priceless biological stockpile. He sold it. And with that staggering revenue, he funded his army. He paid his soldiers. By the 1st century AD, Silphium was almost gone. Pliny watched it happen in real time. The plant, he wrote, hadn't been seen in living memory around Cyrene. Traders were passing off cheaper substitutes. The real thing had become so scarce that when a single specimen was finally found in the wild, it was sent directly to Emperor Nero. Nero ate it. One man ate the last known example of a plant that half the ancient world had relied on. The economics were brutal and simple. Silphium grew in one place, a strip of coastline roughly 200 kilometers wide. Every attempt to cultivate it somewhere else failed. So as demand rose, the only option was more harvesting. Cyrene tried export quotas. They tried restricting access to the hillsides. It was too late. Silphium is one of the first documented cases of a species harvested deliberately to extinction. Not by accident. Not by climate change. By demand. What happened after the extinction is telling. Ancient physicians scrambled to find substitutes. Some contained biologically active compounds. Some were partially effective. But one plant stood out. Daucus carota, wild carrot. Small white flower clusters that curl inward as they dry. Seeds that darken at maturity. It still grows everywhere. Roadsides, fields, anywhere left untended. You've walked past it. Women in ancient Greece used the seeds in the days following unprotected intercourse. The same practice appears in 20th century Appalachian folk medicine. In Ottoman herbal texts, the seeds appear under the name cold seeds. In 2002, a research team tested it. Wild carrot seeds administered after fertilization prevented implantation in animal models. The active compounds disrupted progesterone activity, the exact same mechanism as silphium, a remarkably similar effect, found in a plant that grows in every ditch across the northern hemisphere. Silphium was lost. The biology was never lost, but the plant left behind something else. The heart shape. Playing cards, Valentine's Day, chocolate boxes, that symbol. An anatomical human heart doesn't look like that. It never has. Two rounded humps on top, a sharp point at the bottom. So why this exact shape? One theory traces it back to Silphium. The coins of Sirene show it clearly the seed of the plant, in exactly that shape. The ancient world connected Silphium to love, to intimacy, to desire. The shape traveled forward through time. The plant didn't. This isn't proven, but the possibility that the most universal symbol of love is the seed of an extinct contraceptive plant that's worth sitting with. You are not the first generation to want control over your own body. Every craving for autonomy, every attempt to separate intercourse from pregnancy. These are not modern inventions. They are ancient drives, older than the Roman Empire. 2,000 years ago, a woman woke up in the hills above Cyrene. She cut a stalk from a plant, dried it, ground it down, and drank it. Same problem, same solution. Modern medicine didn't invent this. It rediscovered it with better tools, cleaner names, wider distribution. But the question was never new. And neither was the answer. We lost Silphium. We never lost the need for it.